Before this video starts, I want to give a huge shout out to the kid Gowie for letting me on there. And I just want to thank you, bro. Hit the like button, subscribe. I want to thank Danny. I can't remember the rest of your number 54. But I want to thank you for sticking with this channel for so long. And I finally released a full audio rap video. I put out a scene where I was going to leave the video anyway. So I'll take out the part with the Jimmy Butler part. But if you want to find, you can go subscribe to his channel. And let's get into the video.
So I can expose you. Let's see what you about to expose. You can't expose. You can't
Yo,
expose the kid.
finally.
What's good with you, boy?
What up, man? So I got a couple of questions for you first off, man.
What's up?
My number one question is now, going on to with the Houston Rockets, I have a bunch of things to say. Like, I believe y'all need someone like Kevin Love because as number one, James Harden's he's not a good leader. As I agree in my opinion, he's not a good leader.
Mm-hmm.
And going to number two, he's not the best leader to lead the team. And then going off with him, Russell Westbrook will be great for y'all. He's the best player y'all can get. I get that. Kevin Love, y'all don't really have no championship players in y'all's team. That kind of sinks y'all down. Again, the third player who can shoot the three and is a little bit taller, is what I'm saying, is that can actually advance y'all more to actually competing a little bit more. Because y'all see how y'all were with like OKC, how it kind of got tough in them situations to win. And that's what kind of happens us sometimes then.
Oh, hold on. I hear you. Hold on. I just got to pin this tweet real quick. So my man was dropping facts about D'Antoni. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the people that I suggested. I felt like we do need a player like Kevin Love, but at the same time, it's one of those things where is a James Harden and is a Russell Westbrook going to like finally be a role playing type of guy? Like, are they going to adjust to this? Are they going to adjust to the team, or are they still going to try to play that you have to play through me type of attitude? And I feel like that's going to be the biggest decision making they have to do, because that's the thing that Kobe Bryant had to go through. That's the thing that Michael Jordan had to go through. Like when Phil Jackson came, they had to look at themselves and say, if I want to win a ring, I have to trust my teammates. I have to trust my coach, and I have to adjust accordingly. I can't just have the ball the entire time because I know what I can do, but what can everybody else do? I don't want to have to rely on me all the time. So with that being said, we can add any player. Like we can add a Kevin Love. We can add whoever.
That's true.
But at the same time, it's like, are those guys going to fall into the system and really be invested in getting everybody involved? And I think that's what it really comes down to. We got to play team ball. The moment we play team ball and our offense isn't as predictable as people, see it as, because obviously, Harden's going to get the ball. If Harden's not getting the ball, it's going to Westbrook. So it's like, it shouldn't be that cliche.
Now, that's exactly what's going on with my team, the Atlanta Hawks now. In general, I love my team. I love Trae Young. But the best player for us to get, because Clint Capella, I love what he did for y'all. I think of him as a third player for us, but the second player, the best player to trade for is Zach LaVine, because you have to think about it that way. He's tall, he can get in, he can shoot the three, and he can kind of get in. And them three together, they can, I ain't say they can win, but they'll make noise in the playoffs enough where they can upset a couple teams.
I like that. I mean, I like I said, because I brought up Zach LaVine earlier today, and I feel like he's one of those dudes that really get overlooked. So if the Hawks were to get a player like that, that would be great, because you would have, but it's all about who you would give for him. That's the issue.
The player in general is John Collins, because if I can explain, like Capella, he'll do good for us, but John Collins, him to kind of do the same thing what you said in your video where Wiggins and Andrew have the same backcourt thing. It's just that he ain't got that backcourt stuff. So we're going with backcourt rules and all that stuff going on. If you have a player doing the same thing that the other player is doing, it'll kind of put the team on the better level. So that actually would make it worse. So if I would trade get Zach LaVine, it'll probably be these players. Maybe DeAndre Hunter or Cam Reddish with Kevin Huerter and John Collins, because that's the best trade to go for. I wouldn't trade Kevin Huerter or Cam Reddish, but DeAndre Hunter, in my opinion, when it comes to him and Cam Reddish, when it's time to close, like in the Los Angeles Lakers game, before the pandemic, like we were supposed to tie the game up. It was Cam Reddish. He was wide open for a three, misses the three, and that's what happens. That like you have to have a player that's ready because like on a losing team, you have to be ready to step up. And Trae Young was ready to step up, but it depends on if the rest of your team can step up to win though.
So you're more so running with the logic that you sacrifice a consistent, dominant big to bulk up the
Yeah.
backcourt. Because I mean, I'm not mad at that because this is a guard dominant league. So if you had Trae Young and Zach LaVine back there, I wouldn't be mad at that because that's where the game is heading. With Clint Capella playing center, obviously that's a guy that you can work the high pick and roll with like he did in Houston. So I'm actually not mad at that. I know some people are giving you a hard time in the comments, but like as far as just
Yeah.
the perspective of bulking up your backcourt, I'm not opposed to that because like I said, you're in a guard dominant league. So like yes, John Collins is a bucket, but if his mindset is the league is guard dominated, we should sacrifice our big man and John Collins and bulk up our backcourt. I'm not mad at that. But at the same time, same thing that I was saying with the Houston Rockets. It's all about development. So you have a
Yeah, that's true.
you have
Another
a
thing.
you have a Cam Reddish. So Cam Reddish is a guy that has a high upside. And I feel like Cam just needs the opportunity to kind
Yeah,
of get
that's
his
true.
feet wet and stuff like that. So do you wait for Cam Reddish and let him kind of, develop the same way Trey did? Because Trey started
Yeah.
off cold, but he got so many opportunities that he
Yeah,
was able to
he
eventually
did.
pick up.
Kind of like the Paul George situation. But with John Collins, I get what people are saying. Like, but his main problem is that when it's kind of like the Devin Booker situation in Phoenix. So like, instead of drafting like Luka Doncic, even though we traded him, in that opinion, like that you traded away, you got DeAndre Hunter. He ain't the best player to pair with Devin Booker. Neither was Luka, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
and neither was he good enough for Atlanta Hawks because with Atlanta we need a player who can put the ball in a tight situation and get it in there. I feel like in general, Luka, who is more of a passer, also, but also do stuff like Trey is a more of a shooter though, and in my opinion though, like I said before, like we just like John Collins ain't the best player to be a second player because he doesn't shoot the three much. And like you said before, with whoever you was on with, you need to be able to shoot the three. And
Mm-hmm.
without being able to shoot the three, that's kind of non-effective because he can be a good player. Because he kind of resembles a little bit Kevin Durant with him being skinny and able to catch lobs. But if he can't develop a three-shot, which he wasn't able to do during the season, that kind of puts him on the low effect steam. And say if we did get Zach LaVine, though, he could, like I said before, shoot the three. And him and Trae Young and General and Clint Capella would probably be able to upset a couple of teams in that kind of way, though.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I really feel like when it comes down to the Hawks, I feel like it's just a growth thing. I feel like the Atlanta Hawks are one of those teams where they're slowly rebuilding. You have a Trae Young, you have a Cam Reddish, you have a John Collins. I feel like all these guys are under like the age of 23. So it's like these are guys that are solid key pieces, and I feel like the Atlanta Hawks shouldn't jump into this win now mentality. Now, obviously, the players want to win now, things like that, but at the same time, it's like you want to be able to let these guys grow. You want them to develop and build that chemistry. And I know you say that John Collins doesn't shoot the three ball as much, but even though he doesn't shoot it as much, he's still a 40% shooter from 3-point range. So it's like,
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
it's one of those things where I feel like there's a high upside for a lot of you guys as prospects. And on top of that, you got a Clint Capella who's young as well. So your
Yeah.
entire starting five, including Cam Reddish, who, if I'm not mistaken, comes off the bench, is young.
Yeah, he does.
So I
And
say,
that's what I mean. Like,
so I say give it about like two more, give it 2 more years. If you give it 2 more years, those guys are going to be a contender in the NBA. I guarantee they're going to be a contender in the East because a lot of times it's just about development. And I feel like we have this short-term patience. And it's like, yo, we got to win right now because we're seeing so many people get championships. We got to win. But when you have this young core with a lot of talent, which the Lakers didn't wait, but the Lakers didn't wait because they ended up getting LeBron and then they end up getting AD. So that makes sense. But at the same time, it's like if they would have waited with the Lonzo Ball and the Brandon Ingram and the D'Angelo Russell, like that could have been a solid core within itself. So yeah.
That's a true point. But like going on with more though, like our problem last year when we had the problem with Milwaukee is it's kind of like Mike Budenholzer with Kendrick Perkins says. It's just they can lead a team to a good regular season to finals, but when it comes to winning a title, his problems start to show. Like, okay, like when he was coaching Atlanta Hawks, we were a 60-win team, even though we went up against LeBron. But the thing was that like we were a 60-win team, and he just doesn't do good during like the when postseason comes up. Getting you to a championship ain't the best decision to go to. But in my opinion, he might work well for a James Harden and Russell Westbrook because going with that pair, like you have a player who can shoot the three more and all that stuff going on. And he could work well with like Russell Westbrook and James Harden stuff because that's the problem like with going with, like I said, Atlanta was and Milwaukee is you have a team that's good enough to win a title, but if you're worried about getting them good for regular season, and that's why Toronto and Miami kind of beat them because they wasn't kind of more focused on winning at first. Like they was thinking that they were going to go to the title. So they kind of laid off a little bit more. But, yeah, like that's my opinion. Like Mike Budenholzer isn't a great coach for like postseason. He's a better coach for a regular season. And when he's coaching Houston Rockets, it'll help because you have James Harden and Russell Westbrook who know when they want to win. And they can kind of get the way in and say, here's what I think should go on. And some players kind of tend to listen to the coach a little bit more. They try to add their own feedback to it, which gives them a little bit more credit to winning.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to take credit from Mike because I don't know what Mike's situation was. I feel like Mike can be a coach, but you also got to keep in mind he had to coach a Giannis who is limited in certain aspects. So yes, Giannis is dominant, but at the same time, Giannis isn't a shooter. So it's like, okay, I got to adjust to see where Giannis can play at his best strengths versus playing like a Harden who can pull up from three or playing a Westbrook who coaching Westbrook would be similar to coaching Giannis. But I feel like, coaching Harden as your main guy would be different from Budenholzer. So I can't necessarily say that he's a regular season coach because it's all about, working with what you have. But I appreciate you coming through, bro. I'm about to try to get somebody else in here before I get off.
All right, that's cool. Yeah, but real quick before I leave, though, man, I'm going to say this, though, man. You actually helped inspire me to become a YouTuber, though.
Oh, for
so
real?
I want to thank you for that, though.
Hey, no problem, bro. That's dope. I appreciate you. Some advice for you. Don't be like me. Be better than me. Because when I started YouTube, I started YouTube in 2012, and I didn't blow up until 2017. So it's like just be consistent. Don't worry about the numbers. Focus on your audience. Continue to entertain them. Don't worry about your subscribers. All that other stuff. All those things will come. So, like I said, don't be like me. Be better than me.
All right. Yeah, thanks. See you.